The show can't start until we crack open a bottle of Revelton. Whether it's their crisp, clean vodka, the bold spice of their rye whiskey, the rich smoothness of bourbon, or the original honey whiskey that started it all, every pour is a taste of craft and passion straight from the heart of Iowa. So pour yourself a drink, settle in, and get ready to relax, laugh, and enjoy the show.
Hey, it's Andrew Downs. I'm proud to support Three Beards Media, and I would love to work with you. If you need merchandise for your company, organization, band, softball team, whatever, I can help. From name brand apparel to promotional items, large orders or small, online stores, and more, I can help your brand stand out. AKC Marketing is local, based in Johnston, and we are an employee-owned business, so our costs are low and our turnaround times are fast. But most importantly, we give you personal service to make sure you get exactly what you're looking for. Email me at andrew@akcmarketing.com or find me on social media, and let's make some cool stuff together. Now sit back and enjoy this Three Beards Media podcast.
If you want to know where the storm rolls next, you got to read the clouds over old Midwest. Every yard, every basket, every mat that's worn, you learn to see the future by tracking the storm. We're tracking the storm, watching it form, from Jack Trice's courage to the heroes yet born. Hilton lights shining like lightning in the night. Jack Trice way, glowing in the stadium lights. From the sweat in the barn to the roar in the stands, every cyclone story's written in the land. Yeah, the path gets clearer with each legend swarm. We're keeping eyes on tomorrow by tracking the storm. Dwayne Crutchfield, pounding turf like rain. Big 8 Saturdays, driving through the pain. 2 years, rushing past 1,000 on the ground. Made the whole conference feel that thunder sound. Then Troy Davis hit the hole like a flash. Back to back, 2,000 turn records into ash. Heisman nights, but win or lose that day, the cyclone in his chest never blew away. Seneca rolled out, crowd holding its breath. The run cut like lightning through Tex Red West. 112-yard touchdown, 100 yards more. Sometimes a single scramble rewrites the law. So if you want to know where the wind leans next, you listen to the echoes in those long yard stretches. Every cut, every dive, every night, half-tone, you learn the cycle.
Man, from like week after week after week after week, Kent, we got it rolling. And then we had a great guest with Danny 2-3 weeks ago, and we just needed to kind of absorb everything that he talked about, from a high school phenom to coming to Iowa State, being an Olympic silver medalist, Big 8 champion, going into, setting a path and a career for himself. And we just didn't have enough hours to get through the day on all of that, on that stuff. And coming back for part 2. And Danny, I'm so excited for you to be back. So excited to hear about, your whole story and the things that some of us went through with you along the way. Some of the stuff you just had to experience on your own. But thought Kent did a great job of getting this all set up for us. And man, welcome back. Thank you so much for taking your time and joining us here on Tracking the Storm.
Thank you, Keith and Ken. I appreciate you guys, and thank you guys for giving all of us Cyclone athletes and fans a platform to be able to express ourselves and once again recertify that Cyclone Nation is real. They're everywhere, and we're growing. Let's get it.
Yeah, right, Danny. Hey, Danny, we covered your career last time, a lot of it, and there's so much that we didn't get to cover. And you've obviously had an illustrious career and great stories, but I kind of want to get into the other part of your career. As you went through as a young man at a young age, exposed to a lot of different things, your life took a little bit of a turn. Would you mind kind of introducing us to that just a little bit and getting into that?
Well, you say a little bit of a turn. Let's talk about a pileup on 35 in the snow, and nobody's going nowhere for minutes. Let's just still get ready to do this. So I assume you're talking about my addiction and how that started,
Yes,
yeah?
sir. Yes, absolutely.
So in 1988, didn't make the Olympic team. I tore my hamstring about 6 weeks before the trial. And I was going to get treatment at 6 a.m., going to get a massage at noon, having the trainer come to my house at 9 o'clock at night, just the whole thing. Ended up going to the Olympic trials, finished 7th, ran 47.57. sorry, 47.75, and didn't make the team. So I found myself back in Ames, got my dog Killer out of the kennel he was in, and went back home. And I was supposed to be going to Seoul, South Korea. So no one was in town because school was out. So I ended up going to a party of a friend of mine that I knew, and his brother was going to the Marine Corps. And I had snorted cocaine a couple of times. It was okay, but it wasn't something that I had to have. I get to this party. There's probably about 15, 20 people there. I'm the only one there who doesn't know anybody except for the host. So I'm kind of sitting back in the corner, and they're over there at the table doing whatever they're doing. I'm not paying attention to it, not really looking at it. I'm having a beer. And a guy whose name was Jeff, he looks back and says, "Hey, you want one?" And I said, "One what?" He said, "Hit this." And I'm like, I'm thinking it's cocaine. I get over there and they're freebasing cocaine. This is in Ames, Iowa, 1988. And I thought about it for a second. Thought about Eddie Murphy when he said, "Don't do that shit," on his comedy tour. I figured I had some time off. So I figured, if it didn't kill me, then it would be okay. So I did it, and instantly I had that feeling that's almost indescribable, except for to say it was euphoric. Okay. And I thought that everything was okay. I got through that night, got through the next day, ended up coming back to California for a few weeks, and found myself drawn back to that feeling that I had when I hit the pipe. And ended up back in Ames, wrecked my BMW trying to get back to Ames. And that was the beginning of my addiction. Ended up having a guy bring me a Priazzo from Pizza Hut. And I'm looking at this guy, and Shruggy, especially, I know that. What's the universal sign when you want to know what's up in the hood? Hey, so you give him one of those.
Yeah.
So this guy brings in Priazzo. It's dark 30. It's 0 degrees outside. This guy's sweating bullets, right? And I'd seen that before. So I asked him, where's the cocaine at? He said, "I don't know nothing about that." He comes back and knocks on my door a few minutes later, and he says, "What do you need?" I told him what I needed. He brought it. And I spent the next 3 weeks immersing myself in cocaine and really setting this platform or the stage for me to have a 20-year struggle in order to get back to where I am now.
Danny, how much did that moment play the fact that you missed qualifying for the Olympic team? When you came back to Ames instead of headed to Seoul, was there something about that as well that it kind of hit a bottom, a low a little bit for you that maybe triggered that? Do you think that played a part in it? Does it go back to a hamstring and things like that? That's what I want to ask you.
The hamstring thing is part of athletics, and you go through that. You go through injuries just like a football player would. Was it disappointing? Yes. Was it financially? Was it a financial hit? Absolutely. Did I want to go and compete for a gold medal in Seoul, South Korea? Absolutely. Was I disappointed? Most definitely. Was it so devastating that I had to immerse myself in cocaine and go down that road? No, it wasn't. It wasn't that serious. I had a Nike contract, which was secure. I had, my house. I had everything that I needed. It was a one-time decision that ended up being a 20-year burden, which is food for thought. And for all of you Cyclones and Cyclone fans out there who might have a question about whether it's an issue, right? You need to hear what I just said. It was a quick decision, which cost me 20 years, relationships, both business, personal, interpersonal, and everything in between. It's not worth it.
Yeah. Wow. I know there was times where, we would be out and around. I was in Ames at the time when you were there. I think I was coaching then in 1988, and we ran into each other. And it was always a high five. It was always a hug or a whatever, drink a drink, have a shot. I had no idea back then. I mean, we do. I mean, everybody kind of dabbled a little bit of something, but
right.
We just kind of back then, I was just dabbling. But
the thing about it,
more to dabble.
The thing about addiction is this: it's very easy to get into and very difficult to get out of. And most addicts, that I've met and been around do one thing very well. They hide in plain sight.
Yeah.
Right? So if you didn't know me, or you weren't spending time with me, or you weren't in my very, very small circle of friends that I had, then you wouldn't know. Because most of the time I was at home, behind closed doors, doing way too much and going way too far.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's.
Hey, Danny.
That with other folks. I mean, I had some situations of my personal life, not with me, but with situations with people that I knew that couldn't just stop. It was
right.
They just, once they started, it was on, game on.
Right.
And that's a tough position to be in. I mean, I always felt a different kind of bond with you, Danny, just because, when you came to town, came to Ames, I was your host, KT was your host, Bake was there to help out. And it hurts to hear it, because, inside of myself, I'm like, I should have been able to help him, but I didn't know, I didn't know.
Danny, let me ask you this. It's kind of an obvious question, because, you could be a guy performing at an extremely high international Olympic level and nobody would know. And that's why I asked you, coming off that Olympic trial, the big question is why? As you look back, why do you think that happened? Why do you think you made that choice?
Well, when you grow up like I did, and you've made every decision in your life since you were 13 and a half, 14 years old, you kind of get the feeling that I'm not omnipotent, but I'm in charge of myself, and I'm in charge of every decision I've ever made in my life, good, bad, or ugly. So I was a bit of an agnostic at that time, didn't know really where I stood, with God and with him in my life, and how that all played out. And I think that lack of faith and fear, was a part of it. 88, I call that the steroid year. There were a couple of guys in my race whose names shall remain unsaid, who'd never beat me. They beat me one time in 13 years, right? And that was at that Olympic trials. And whose PRs were in the 49s, and I ran 47. They ran 47, 56, or 57, right? And beat me. So I had some questions there. But to answer your question, I guess it would boil down to lack of faith and probably a little bit of low self-esteem in there as well.
Yeah, Keith.
I don't mean to laugh, but if there's any person in my life,
what the fuck, guys? You guys are laughing at, right?
No, I mean, Danny, if there's anybody in my life that I've ever met that I never thought I'd ever hear say self-esteem, and not in a braggadocious way, but in the fact that when you walked into the place, there was no mistake. Danny Harris was in the room. Now you weren't loud and over vociferous or anything else, but there was no question that the level of confidence when you walked into that room, when you sit in this studio right here today, there is no doubt with the level of confidence that Danny Harris is in control of the situation.
Well, I would attribute that to being in front of a camera, since I was 15 years old. So right. that confidence comes in this area because it's been hard fought, and not easily won. So I can communicate very well. What you do as an athlete and what you do as a person are two very different things. If I was as comfortable in the classroom as I was on the track, I'd be a Rhodes Scholar. Right?
In some respects you are. It's just in a different level of life, I mean,
that's
really.
Right. That's right. I certainly got a PhD in the School of Hard Knocks. I got that covered.
Right. I mean, we talked a little bit about that growing up in Compton and moving out to Paris. I mean, I lost both your parents. I mean, holy cow. I mean, and then coming to Iowa State and then going into the Olympics and coming off with the disappointment and then finding this out and knowing that you're into something that's maybe a little stronger than what you could say no to. Where'd it take you?
Well, I have to tell you, Sharky, it took me to some places that I never thought that I'd be. It took me around some people that I never wouldn't normally associate with. Took me down some roads and some alleys and some back streets that I wouldn't recommend for anyone to have to travel. So was it hard? Yes. Was it difficult and shameful to lose everything? Houses, cars, relationships, faith, all those things are very difficult. You know, there is no easy way to put it. You know, if you're an addict, you're going to do some things you wouldn't normally do. You're going to associate with some people you wouldn't normally associate with. And you're going to have a level of shame that only lasts until the next hit or fix that you can get. And that's what I did. I got on that treadmill and hid and used and hid. And probably the greatest thing that happened to me was the last test that I took that I failed, and it was over with. And I knew I didn't have the responsibility to Nike, to my shoe company. I didn't have the responsibility to any of my other sponsors. I didn't have anything else left to do but turn around and face the 20 feet gorilla that had been sitting in my house for 15 and 16 years and figure out a plan to fight it and win, which is never easy. But the longest journey, you know, begins with a single step.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
Danny, when did you, along that path, you said you started 80, I think right after the Olympic trials.
Right.
When did you notice it was a problem? And the second part of that is, why didn't you do anything? And I know you're not afraid to answer these questions because you own it. And I have so much respect for that. So I don't mean to be blunt, but
well, and that's a good question. Look, it's not about being blunt. It's about information. So when I first recognized that it might be a problem,
when did you notice it was a problem, and what was your thought?
Well, when I came home after going to that party, after not making the team, it was wintertime. I found myself with 3 weeks of vacation in California, it's snowing in Iowa. I left my car when I left Des Moines. I left my car in short-term parking, right, which is right across the street, right. You don't usually do that if you're going to be gone 3 weeks, even though I had the means to take care of it. I had a reservation in my mind, a lurking notion that I was going to come back to experience that same thing I experienced at Jeff's house. That was my first thought. Why am I having this pervasive thought about using that substance again? When I got back, I'm driving too fast on 35. I wrecked my BMW. I get out. Some guy recognized me. I leave the car there. I go to Ames. The first thing I do when I get in my house is I make a call to the pizza guy. That should have been the point where I should have said, hold up, wait a minute. I need to talk to someone, or I need to let someone know, because this is not normal for me to be that distracted. The reason why I didn't, lack of trust. You know, Steve Lynn, my coach, I loved Coach so much. And Coach rode the bull with me for the full 8 seconds, right? But at that point, I could not bring myself to believe and admit that it was a problem, let alone sit down and tell somebody else that I didn't know that it was an issue. Now, a good friend of mine, Marty Martinez, who was a sports psychologist at Iowa State University, just recently passed away. I've known that man for 40 years, right? And a lot of the answers that I was seeking came from Marty Martinez, right? Coach Lynn suggested I go talk to him. His information and his expertise proved so beneficial that there were times in the summertime where I would go in his office and I would just lay on the couch in his office and he would do his work and we wouldn't talk. And then I would wake up and we would talk for 10 or 15 minutes. He would give me some information that I was looking for, and I would go forward. When I failed my test, he was there. When I had to go and do the news conference that I had failed the test and was in fact suspended, Tom Crochelle, Marty Martinez, and Steve Lynn and I all got together and formulated a playbook or a plan, and I followed that plan. When I came back to Iowa State to finish my degree, the first person I saw besides Dr. Thomas Hill was Marty Martinez. When I graduated, one of the 15 people that were invited to my graduation party from Iowa State was Marty Martinez. So I didn't tell anybody because I wasn't capable of doing it. I didn't have the answers to my issues and my problems as I do today. I didn't have the information. I didn't have the willingness. I didn't want to. Okay? Not to mention that I was making a very good salary from Nike, and that, you know, there was nothing for me to do but sit back and spend the rest of my gold. And I figured I'd figure it out once all the gold was gone.
Right. Now this was 88, 89. Did you get back into training then to go for the 92 Olympics or to compete again? I can't remember that right now.
1990, I was ranked number 1 in the world.
Right.
And I came back. I was able to take some time out. I came back. I had gone to Charter Hospital in Mission Viejo. I spent 30 days there. I got exposed to the program of Alcoholics Anonymous. I hadn't got a sponsor yet, but I was looking at the book and I was looking at the parts of the book that I have to say for 2 guys to write a book in 1936, right? That is as pertinent today with regard to alcoholism and addiction as it was when they penned it in 1936. It's an incredible body of work, right? And as I continue to go to meetings and get a sponsor, it became clear to me that I am in fact an addict, right? And information is always the most important thing you can have going into any situation, right? And my opponent was cunning and baffling and powerful. And I had to come up with an equally cunning, baffling, and powerful solution to a problem for which I had no solution for. That was profound, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty good, Danny.
That was awesome. I mean, I don't even really know where to go with this other than, so you're training, you were using, you were training, you were using, you were prepping, you're number 1 ranked in the world.
Let me be clear. The term using, was not an everyday thing.
Right.
There were times when I thought I had control. So I could go, if I had some important meeting or something coming up, or some important meet or some important business meeting, I could go 60, 90 days without indulging. But there was always that little itch, that little scratch there that I couldn't wait to get back, to do it again. And once that task was over and I had done what I did, win, lose, or fail, I could go back to my cave and I could do what I wanted to do, because I had the means to do it. I had the time to do it. I had the resources to do it. And I had the want to do it, to indulge. So that's the dangerous part, really, for me, of addiction, is that if you don't know that someone's in danger, in mortal danger, in my case, that you can miss it. You can absolutely miss it.
Wow. Danny, just on the terms of your athletic career at that time, and I want to stay with this, but I have to ask you, how much of an impact, you're number 1 in the world, how much of an impact did that have in your peak performance? Could you have been, even better in your mind without that? It's an obvious question, but I want to hear your take on it.
Well, if I've learned nothing else over the past 25, 30 years, is that what I did was enough. Right? What I did was enough. And I'm okay with where I am in history. Even with the drug stuff in there, I'm okay with where I am. And to be honest with you, once I ended Edwin Moses' 9-year, 9-month, 9-day, 122 race streak, that was my gold medal. I trained for that for a solid 3 years, right? With one goal in mind. To get a phone call.
Talk about addiction.
Yeah. Yeah. A little bit obsessive, right?
Yeah,
so,
right. Absolutely.
Yeah. For me, that was, I had climbed the mountaintop, and a gold medal for me, it carried some weight, but to me, Edwin Moses was the beginning and the end of 400-meter hurdles. Even though it's in a different stratosphere now with regard to time, I never saw him come to a race that he wasn't prepared for. And he brought my level of awareness, intensity, workouts, he brought it all to another level. And as much as he didn't want to give it away, was equally as much as I wanted it. Sure. And that was a situation that was, I guess it was destined to happen, but he didn't give me anything. I took that from him. Yeah. And to take something from someone with a resume like that, for me, that was my gold medal. Now, not making it back to the Olympics, I'm okay with that. With my silver medal as an 18-year-old, a year out of high school, I'm okay with that. Having reached the peak of my career and being ranked #1 in the world, I'm okay with that. The race for the world championship in 1987 in Rome, where we had a photo finish at the finish line, Harold Smith, Edwin Moses, and myself, with the same finish that we had at the '84 Olympic Games in Los Angeles. That was a fun race. The respect that I have from my peers. I don't think I have a losing record to any one individual except for Edwin Moses, I think the record is 4-1. That's the only athlete that I ever encountered that I didn't get the best of if we had multiple races. So I'm okay with my place in history. I'm okay with what's unfolded with regard to my life. I feel comfortable with where I am today. I think it's important that we share my experience today on this platform, and I'm happy to do it. And I go back to what Marty Martinez told me. Hey, it's okay, right? You're okay. Right? It's enough. Yeah. It's enough. And that keeps me from swinging a lot of high fastballs.
Sure. So in 92, isn't that, you got suspended again in 92? Was that correct?
Yep. 92, I was suspended again. And no, this was 96 in Brazil. And what I did there is I had used and I had smoked some marijuana in conjunction with the cocaine. So usually if I did cocaine, it was, it was a 5-6 day process. So I actually went to Brazil 5 days early. So I was able to go there, rest a couple of days, train a couple of days. And I came back having already failed one test. You turn around and you see the lady with the Red Cross vest come over and you know it's you for a test. So I wasn't alarmed by it by any means, but I figured I was okay. But in the back of my mind, I thought, what if, what if I'm not clean? Never taking into account that the marijuana bonded with the cocaine and got into my system and stayed there. Marijuana's a 28-day process. Cocaine about a 4 or 5 day process, depending on how much you can flush out. And the test came back dirty. And I'll never forget being in my house in Orange County and getting a package from FedEx. I never got packages from FedEx unless they were bad news. In fact, I only got 2 of them in my whole life, right? And I came home and the lady who was taking care of the house for me, she put it on the counter, put the FedEx package on the counter, and I opened it. Not right away. I went and sat down, played with my dog for a minute. I opened it, and it did, in fact, come from the IAAF, who said that simply I had failed a test, that I had an opportunity to come to Monte Carlo to the headquarters with a representative to watch the B sample be tested to confirm that the test was, in fact, correct. And then I had to start making phone calls. And, I had to call Bobby Kersey, who was my coach at the time, and I had to tell a couple other people who needed to know. And then the next day or the next week, I got a couple checks from Nike along with the bad news that, my relationship with them had been severed. So I said it once and I'll say it again, that was probably the most liberating moment, one of the most liberating moments in my life. That moment and the moment that I read Who's an Alcoholic in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. When I read that and I was able to put myself in that text and look at my life situation and compare them to the words that were written in that chapter, at that point, I didn't need to talk to anybody else. I was free, right?
Yeah.
I was free. I slept really well that night. I slept really well the night that all that happened. And then the depression came from knowing that it was over with. And I want to go back here for a minute. You know, we talked about friends and we talked about real friends. When I failed that first test, you know, I had a lot of people that depended on me. I had a lot of friends. And I found myself sitting in my house, didn't have a cell phone at that time, but, you know, I would come home sometime and have 120 messages if I'm gone for a week, you know, and my phone didn't ring.
Mm.
And as the phone didn't ring, I felt more and more isolated and more alone, right? And then depression kicked in. My dog would sit there and look at me and be like, bro, let's go jump in the pool, or let's go get one of those big steaks from the store. And you look at me like, what's wrong with you, right? Now I'm thinking I'm about to lose my house. I'm about to pack up 4 bedrooms by myself, and I'm about to move to a place that I was okay with, but the person had no idea. She had no idea what I was going through, what was going on, other than the fact that she was a nurse and she had some idea what addiction was. The point of all this is that it was about 6:30 in the morning that my phone rang. Willie Galt, the Chicago Bear receiver, world champion, 85 Bears, was on the phone. I didn't give Willie Galt my phone number. Don't know who did to this day. But he talked to me, and he'd read the LA Times, and he'd spend about 10 minutes talking to me. He'd spend about 5 minutes praying with me. And that gave me enough will to get up that day and to fight one more day. And I'll be forever grateful for Willie Galt for making that call, and for God to place and touch him to call me and give me the information he gave me that morning, to pray with me and give me hope that redemption is possible and that it can be real, no matter how long and winding the road, that it can be done.
Mm.
And that's it.
What year was that?
That was my first test in 88. That was my first test that I failed. And, you know, I never thought that my life would come to that point where I would work so hard to get everything and secure a future for myself, only to lose it and have to start over again. But, you know, money, property, and prestige, all those things are great and they're good to have. And it's good to be able to be free enough to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And that's the freedom that money gives you. But peace of mind and real friends, and having experienced some hate and some real love, I tend to gravitate today towards, you know, hope and redemption. And that, you know, no matter how bad things get, it ain't over till it's over.
Yeah, right. I mean, sobering. I mean, it's certainly sobering to listen to people struggle. I mean, and you know, the struggles, I mean, it goes on every day. Just, it's in a different, you've got it kept in a different perspective, and you've managed it, which is fantastic. It's, you know, I always looked at you as somebody, you're kind of like my hero. Even though you're younger than me and I was kind of your host coming on, I just loved how you just approached life, approached things that you did. And
well, let me say this, Keith. The thing that I hold most dear to me today are my friends and my Cyclone brothers who knew me before I was Danny Harris. Right? Right. Why is that? Because on my recruiting trip, you and Kurt, what you guys did for me was real. Right? What you guys saw was real. The love and admiration you guys have for me as a Cyclone brother and the player on the football team was real. I love things that are real. Now, if you don't know me and you come up and the first thing you say is, hey, you're Danny Harris, I know who you are, then I'm going to probably keep you at arm's distance because I don't know what you want from me.
Right.
I don't know who you think I am, but I'm probably not close to what you think I am. I'm not a superhero. You know, I can't run through the rain without getting wet. I have my faults, I have my warts, and I have my scars, and I'm a real person. And when you boil it all down to addiction, it's a fight for my life. You know, I'll never forget starting off at Charter Hospital and then ending up in the basement of a morgue on 47th and Broadway in South Central Los Angeles with 20 men and 20 women. And I come into that situation as recovery, and I'm not allowed to talk. It's a year. I signed up for a year program, which spoke to my desperation, which meant I could leave if I wanted to, but I signed up for a year. To graduate that program was a year. Not being able to talk for 30 days at all. And then on the 31st day, they put you in a chair and all your peers and the staff are around you. And everybody gets to go around one at a time and tell you how they see you and how, and who they think they see in front of them. And it was brutal. Okay? It was brutal. I came in there with some Valentino jeans on, a Valentino shirt, and some crocodile boots. And all of a sudden, I got some crackhead over here telling me that I'm not no track star. I'm a crack star, that I ain't shit, and I ain't gonna be shit, and I ain't gonna never do it, and how stupid I am for messing it all up. And it's like, oh my God, right? And I went back into my room after I cursed the girl out because she was tearing me a new one. After I cursed her out and I wasn't allowed to talk, one of the advocates told me I wasn't allowed to talk, and I told her to shut up. And she said, "You think you're smart, don't you?" And my retort to her was, "I'm at least as smart as you are," right? And that got me another 30 days in room detention. So I couldn't go out of the room for 30 days except for going to meetings in the evening time and group in the daytime. Other than that, I was confined to my room without a TV and just my big book to read. So that was part of me building my fortress and something I had to go through. But it was brutal. And to be torn down, stripped of all dignity and all the worldly things that we covet, and to have to look at yourself in the mirror for the first time in 20 years is not easy to do, especially when you look back to the amount of damage and wreckage that I caused, not just in my life, but others who loved me and cared about me. It was a tough thing to swallow.
I know you let yourself down. I know I know you well enough in that regard that your goals, you're chasing Edwin Moses and you caught the son of a bitch. I know you had goals and other things that were in front of you, and I know you let yourself down on some of those things. But who are some of the other folks that you really impacted? That had to hurt as bad as anything.
Anybody who ever showed me genuine care or concern, that hurt. Yeah. Obviously, Steve Lynn was the closest person to me. May he rest in peace. Man, the day I had to tell him that I failed the first test, I had to drive from Lincoln Way out in West Ames to the track facility. And that was the longest drive I ever had to take. And I get out there, Kevin Burke is there, Steve Lynn is there, and Coach Lynn is doing what he usually did. He's setting up hurdles, and it's 90 degrees and 90% humidity, and he's out there with his bow legs and his sunscreen all over his face, and he's out there setting up hurdles. And I had to tell him what I had to tell him, and that was the toughest thing that I ever had to do. And that hurt me the most because I knew it hurt him. And after he cursed me out, we sat in the equipment shed, and he said, "Well, now we got to figure out what you're going to do." And he brought the same level of care and concern, and he coached me to my first program, which was to go in and get some treatment. And he actually took me there and took me to Des Moines, and he left me there. But, I knew he loved me. I knew he cared about me. And he cared about me enough to tell me the truth. And that's where I started to differentiate and value when someone's telling me something to make me feel good and someone's telling me something that I need to hear, right? And that's how I decided to start assessing who my real friends are, right? Whether you care about me, the person, or whether you care about what you think I can do for you. Now, as a post athlete at 60 years old, my needs and my wants are very different. My perspectives are very, very different. My ability to choose my friends and make good decisions with regard to who I'm going to have around me. Oh, I'm sharp now. I'm on my game, right? Sure. Because I had to learn through trial and error, what it means to be a friend, a real friend. And I'm proud to say I count you two guys amongst my real friends, but the circle is still small, and I'm okay with that today.
Yeah, right.
Danny, can I get back to Coach Lynn just a little bit?
Yeah.
I know you had a special relationship, and I know you went through that time with him. Can you kind of cover just a little bit of that relationship? Because I know this is important to you, because I know his relationship with you, but he got you to your first rehab. There was a tight relationship there before. Mm-hmm. What about after that? Is there anything you want to paint in that before and after? Because we know about the middle. He was a great mentor. He cared about you. Mm-hmm. After all that?
After all that, Coach was still Coach, right? He looked at me with a little bit more of a critical eye. He would ask me directly, am I okay? But our relationship didn't change. He's the same guy who met an 18-year-old kid, coached him to a Big 8 indoor championship in the 400, a Big 8 outdoor championship and team championship in the 400 hurdles, 4x4 relay, 400 meters, and the same guy who coached me over a 3-year period to defeat, in my mind, the greatest 400-meter hurdler ever, which is Dr. Edward Moses. That was Coach Lynn, right? But our relationship went far beyond track, right? We spent so much time together. For a while, it was just he and I. And I cannot tell you how many days that we spent together training, in the morning, in the evening time, in conjunction with whatever else he was doing that had going on with the team or what he was doing business-wise. He always made time for me. And I'll forever love him for that. And his loss was very hard to take. But what I took with me from all that were the lessons that I learned from him, the true meaning of love and friendship that I took from him. And the last year that I ran, I had a chance to take him to Europe with me. And we went to, I think we went to London, and we went to Spain, and we went to Belgium, and we ended up in Monte Carlo in Monaco. And we were staying right next to the big casino that you always see on James Bond. And I'm in the lobby, and I'm giving a radio interview, and I got my back turned to the lobby, and it's a long straightaway down to the door, and I smelled this SPF 30, right? Sunscreen. And Coach Lynn was a fair-skinned guy, and he had the walrus mustache. And I smelled the SPF 30 go by, and I kind of giggled, and I looked over to my left out of my peripheral vision, and there's Coach Lynn, with his socks that are too big around his ankles, with his New Balance on, with his regular little Iowa shirt, slathered with SPF 30 on his face, and he's going to go walk down the French Riviera. How cool is that? And that's the one thing that I'm really happy I had a chance to experience with him and do with him, was to go to Europe. And we had, it was the end of my career, we had a chance to kind of reminisce and have a lot of dinners together, a few beers together. And it was just like a really good thing. So his loss affected me greatly. Still thinking about him today. And when you see me train someone, and I use the word big guy, that's Steve Lynn. Yeah. Right? I appropriated that phrase from him. And go ahead.
I was a PE major at Iowa State. Mm-hmm. And Coach Lynn was a great golfer.
Yeah.
And he coached Golf 1 and Golf 2.
Yeah.
I took them both twice. I didn't even get credit for it the second time around. I just loved hanging around the guy. I mean, the guy taught me so much about wedge play and golf and everything else. He was just phenomenal to be around. He's like, Keith, why are you in my class? I'm like, just want to take it again. It's and I got nothing else to do. So I just had an open hour, and I just would go to the class.
Right.
He was fantastic. I remember that where I was the day that I heard that he passed away. I couldn't believe it. I mean,
Yeah.
I could not believe it. It just,
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. I walked into my house and I got a text message, and I'm like, holy cow, no way.
Yeah.
And I still today almost refuse. I mean, I think he was like 60 years old or 61 years old. I mean, he was an amazing guy.
And I'm 60 right now, which lets you know how fragile that life can be and how important it is for us to tell the people that we care about that we love them, you know, when they're here and not when they're gone. Fortunately for me, you know, I had a chance to talk to Coach, and I had a chance to really tell him how I felt about him and how I felt about his presence in my life. And I spoke at his funeral. So for me, that was the one thing I could take from his passing that I could go forward with, along with 1,000 sayings and 1,000 stories and 1,000 ways to coach 1,000 different kids, and to give every one of those kids I come in contact with the very best of me as a coach and the full benefit of the knowledge that I obtained over my time as an athlete and now as a coach. That's the legacy of Steve Land. That's what he gave to me. That's what I give to my kids and my people.
That's being a former coach, and I can't be in the same position. I still think of today the guys that I coached when I was at Rose-Hulman, and even some of the guys that I coached when I was at Iowa State. I still stay in touch with them every day, and they still, have fond memories of stupid things I used to say or whatever, and we all had our little things that we carried with us, and the impact that they have on our lives. I'm sure, the impact Coach Lynn had on your life carried you through probably most of your dark times. I would assume.
And it carries me through today. I had a kid with who's on the autism spectrum, and his dad needed a break, so his dad contacted me and wanted to have me train his son. And I didn't care how much money he was giving me. It wasn't about that. It was about, how can I get this kid's attention? How do I coach a kid who's prone to, outbursts, and once he throws the anchor over the side of the boat and decides he's not going to do something, it's a wrap. You ain't going to get him to do nothing else, right? And watching Coach Lynn train athletes from Nigeria, Kenya, Dubuque, Chicago, California, and all parts in between, that gave me the dexterity to be able to say, hey, Roderick, we're going to do this, buddy. And how we're going to do it is we're going to do it just like this. I explain to him what we want to do. I get him to agree with it. We make a deal that we're going to do it together, and we get it done. It's the same thing Coach Lynn did with me, just with a different flavor, right? And you're not born with that. If you're not born with that, you have to learn that. I was born an athlete. I learned how to be a coach from Steve Land.
Yeah, right.
Nice. Danny, we'll get to that in a little bit, because I know
let's take a quick break here.
Got it. You got it, buddy.
Yeah, let's go sell something real fast.
That's right.
We'll come back. We'll talk. Wherever you want to go with it, Danny. We're gonna kind of let you be the lead on this stuff, and whatever you want to talk about from that point forward. Let's go. All right.
Let's take a time out. See you in 2.
Everybody.
Let's be honest. Pizza is something almost every family enjoys. You're already grabbing one at the store, so why not choose the best tasting pizza that also supports a cause we all care about? That was the challenge behind We Will Pizza. Create the ultimate frozen pizza for Cyclone fans. Big flavor, bold toppings, and options for everyone, including gluten-free choices that don't sacrifice taste. And if you haven't tried it yet, the real MVP? The breakfast pizza. Perfect for early kickoffs, tailgates, or watch parties when Hilton Magic or Jack Trice Energy is calling. Every bite helps benefit Iowa State student athletes, so your game day spread does more than just taste amazing. It gives back. We Will Pizza. Made for Cyclone fans, built for tailgates, and ready whenever you are. We will, you will, Cyclones will. In the heart of Des Moines, one name has stood above the rest: Iowa Beef Steakhouse. Step inside, and you enter a place where tradition still matters, where the atmosphere feels familiar, warm, and unmistakably Iowa. Service isn't rushed. It's personal, attentive, and rooted in genuine care. And before the main event, the freshest start in the city, our signature salad bar, crafted every single day. Then comes the reason people have returned for generations. Iowa beef, hand-seasoned with pride. Guided by flame, forged by heat. This is where flavor becomes legend. Served with the same care it was crafted with. A meal meant to be remembered. And whether the night calls for bold, smooth, or something in between, our bar offers a selection as rich as our history, including the old-fashioned we've become known for. Balanced, timeless, unforgettable. And long after the fire cools, the glow of this place stays with you. Iowa Beef Steakhouse, 1201 East Euclid Avenue, Des Moines, Iowa, where Iowa comes for steak, done right. When you walk into Coach's Kolaches, you might be a little overwhelmed by all the great choices, but do not be overwhelmed by how to say it.
What's a colache?
Oh, cola cheese? Colache?
Kolaches?
Kolache?
Like the shoes? No, that can't be right.
It's kolache, but it don't matter what you call it, as long as you call it good.
Start your morning the Coach's Kolaches way. Every single batch is made fresh at sunrise by Coach himself. You can taste the care in every bite. Craving something savory? Go with that branded Texas flavor. Warm, hearty, and packed with down-home goodness. Or maybe you're craving the sweeter life. Then you've got to try the fruit-filled kolaches or those soft, fresh cinnamon rolls that practically melt in your mouth. Got that game day fever? We got just what you need at that tailgate.
How's it going, man?
Good.
Tailgating this weekend.
Yeah, what can I get
Big
you?
one. Give me a dozen jalapeno sausages and 6 each of the sausage and bacon.
And listen, we all know how good these are, so you better get more than you think. So run, don't walk to Coach's Kolaches, 2777 100th Street in Urbandale, or call ahead for big orders at 515-802-6200.
Buying or selling a home is one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make. That's why choosing the right real estate team matters. The Jenny Farrell team with RE/MAX Concepts has been helping families across the Des Moines Metro find the right home since 1998. Born and raised right here in the community, Jenny understands the neighborhoods, the market, and what truly makes a house feel like home. Whether you're buying your first home, upgrading your space, or preparing to sell, the Jenny Farrell team provides expert guidance every step of the way, from market analysis and listings to negotiations and closing. Their consultative approach means you'll feel confident, informed, and supported throughout the entire process. Jenny Farrell Team, RE/MAX Concepts. Call or text 515-779-7500. Visit jenniferfarrell.remax.com. Experience.
Yeah, I figured that was better than the naked commercial, so we got a new sponsor. So.
Buy a house from Jenny. Yeah.
I probably should have told you guys about that one before.
Food, and houses. All right, we're good to go. Holy cow. That was a long that was 2 times 2 right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take my fee in Coach's Kolaches.
There you go.
Kolaches are good, man.
You remember Brett Kirby? He played defensive tackle for us.
Yeah.
That back in the 90s, mid-90s, I think it was. So
mid-2000s.
Anyways.
Mid-2000s.
Mid-2000s. Shit, I don't remember. I was gone. When I lived in Western New York, I saw 2 Iowa State basketball games from 1999 to 2006. I saw 2. They lost to Michigan State in the Elite 8, and the next year they lost to Hampton in the first round. That's the only 2 games I saw during those years. So it was kind of fun that recently, now that I live back in the Midwest, to be able to check them out and see them like we do now. So anyway, we're back. So
we are.
Sorry, I got a little cold here today, so I've been under the weather, but I wasn't going to miss this thing. So anyway, so we got to that part of, the first part of, with your addiction and the suspensions from track and field. And I know that wasn't it.
and don't forget to say sober since 2007. 2008.
That was my next question.
Yep.
That was my next. So 2007 is when you
went in, and 2008 is when I graduated the program. I went back to Iowa State to finish my degree. And by the grace of a loving God, I haven't had to look back, one day at a time. Has it been easy? No. Have there been moments when I've been tested? Yes. Have there been moments I've had overwhelming sense of God's presence in my life and his path for me and what it didn't include? Yes. Was the Midnight Mission in Skid Row, downtown Los Angeles on 6th and San Pedro exactly the right place, the right time for me to go to? Absolutely. Will I ever forget?
Talk a little bit about that. I've heard you say Skid Row a few different times, and I didn't know if that was just kind of an anecdote, or if you actually were there. Or, I mean, just
I'm going to give you the whole story of Skid Row, and then we'll move on to something else. So Skid Row, the phrase was coined by men, Caucasian men, who worked in the Pacific Northwest falling trees, cutting down trees. This is before the Great Depression. And they had the trees, then you had the hill that slid down, the logs, and you had a row of tents, right? So they coined the phrase Skid Row, right? When that played out, and those men who were cutting the trees no longer had jobs or any means of employment, they ended up downtown Los Angeles, where they had all the missions and all the soup kitchens and all the places where people could go to get some substance or to get cleaned up or do whatever they wanted to do. And they started saying Skid Row. Now, today, Skid Row is a 6-block area that is mostly people who have mental illness, people who have addictions or alcoholism, people who have, or families who have been displaced and who are experiencing homelessness. There are kids down there on Skid Row who live with their parents. And it broke my heart one morning to see a mother and her 2 kids waiting on the corner of 6th and San Pedro for a school bus to come and pick up our kids to take them to school. I couldn't help but think those kids are going to be really, really strong, or they're going to be really, really messed up, right? Because it's not something that everyone wants to see, but everyone should see. The suffering, and sometimes the undeserved suffering of individuals who are down there. Long story short, there's a Union Rescue Mission, there's a Midnight Mission, and the Weingart Foundation. Those are all 501c3s who cater to or serve the homeless people. Some of them for families, some of them for individuals, some of them have drug and alcohol treatment, medical services are provided. A dentist, a doctor are all down there on Skid Row for free. But in that element, you also have predators that are down there who sell drugs and various other things, who are looking to share their wares with individuals who have problems. We call them predators today. When I came to the Midnight Mission, I didn't really have an expectation because I was at the end of my rope. I just know I didn't want to get high anymore. I knew that I had spent the night sleeping on or sitting on a piece of cardboard with my back up against the wall, with my hat down, and waiting for the sun to come up at 7 a.m. so I could go into the mission and start this journey that I'm still on today. The advocates of Midnight Mission are former addicts and alcoholics themselves. There was no pressure there. I worked in the community relations department there. That was my job, so I didn't have to pay them, but I also didn't have to be on the county because it was a 501c3. That's where I got my wheels back. That's where I got my humanity back. That's where I got my confidence back. That's where I found myself, right? And that is the wind that continuously blows in my sails today, as I try to get back what was freely given to me in whatever way I can.
Danny, I'm gonna
go ahead.
I'm gonna back you up because I know we're getting to your story, and obviously you since 2007 you've been clean. I want to, before you get to that point where you really felt you got there, there's always a low point. You've had an athletic high, your goal beating Edwin Moses. You come out of it. In between there, what was the low point?
I used to think it was because I didn't get everything I wanted to accomplish as an athlete. The low point was sitting on a curve in Long Beach, California, on a place called Gilligan's Island, where all the smokers went. And I'm literally sleeping on the steps of a county building, along with this guy and his wife. And we just had one rule, that we didn't get high on that particular porch because we didn't want the cops to come and make us move, because there were other places that weren't as desirable to sleep. The low point was, giving plasma, right? And getting like $27 just so I could get high with $20 of it and get a bag of chips. That was the low point, and the final motivation was, I'm sitting on the curve. It's hot. It's summertime. I see this brother drive up. He's got a Cadillac Coupe de Ville. It's doo-doo brown with a vanilla interior. And he hangs his arm out the window. And he's got the monogram cufflinks and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, he's got some money. So I go over there and say, hey, brother, I want to go get sober. Can you help me out with a few dollars? My intention wasn't to go get sober. My intention was to use the money to get high. He looked me in the eye. He said, all I got is a 50. If I give you this 50, you going to use? I said, oh, yeah, if you give me the $50, I'm definitely going to get high, right? So he gives me the $50. I get a strawberry crush and a bag of Cheetos, and I use the rest of the money to get high. But I'd also told him that I would use some of the money for the train to get back to Los Angeles from Long Beach, which is about 40 miles. And when I get downtown, there are enough agencies down there that I can choose where I want to go, to get sober. The next morning, I get up at 7 a.m. I get on the Blue Line, which is a train. I ride from Long Beach through Compton. I get to Compton and I see the courthouse in Compton. Now, I got the ticket in Compton many years before that was now a warrant. I get off the train. I go into the court. I put myself on the docket. I tell the judge I'm trying to go downtown to get sober, but they won't accept me when they run my name if I have a warrant, because whatever it's for, whether it's traffic or whether it's criminal, that you can't go in there, because if they come and get you, then it's bad on the program. So I go in there. I ask the judge, to put me on the docket. They do it. I had a speeding ticket. I told the judge I was going to go to rehab. He dismissed the case in the interest of justice. I got back on the train and went downtown Los Angeles. I get off at Union Station. I walk around, check out a couple of the missions, end up at the midnight mission. They tell me that you can get in if you come back at 7 in the morning. That was the last night I spent on the street. That was the pivotal moment. The low point, I guess, was the day before, having given plasma for $27. And I thought, that's all I'm worth is my plasma and $27. I'm not speaking to any of my friends. I'm not speaking to my family. No one knows where I'm at. If I would have died, if I didn't have my ID on me, I'd just be a John Doe. And I didn't want to go out like that. Don't want to go out like that. And I don't recommend it to anyone. There's help available wherever you are, in whatever state you're in. There's always help available, and we should avail ourselves of the information and the good people who serve decent people to help them get to a life that's worth living to recover.
Danny, man, I tell you what, you're so courageous, honestly, just to share everything. It's so inspiring. And I you had that low point as we just talk about making it, talk about 2007. There's some people that have helped you along the way, and we'll get to that, but talk about that feeling of accomplishment for you personally.
Well, I don't see it as a feeling of accomplishment, because every day when I get up in the morning, I pray and I think about where I was, I think about where I am. My sponsor calls me sometimes still and tells me, meet me here, and I get there and it's a meeting and he just wants to check in with me. I see people in Los Angeles still walking around lost and sleeping on the streets and who have their hand out for something. If I can help them, I do, but I also give them the information that there's help available and where I got help from. The word making it, I wouldn't go that far. Even with the time that I have now, it's still a one day at a time proposition. And for me to have a sense of I've made it, or a false sense of security, would be me testing the theory again, as I could put one in without having had a serious consequence. And no matter how far I get away from it, that being drugs, I'm still only one hit away from being right back. I've seen that happen. Don't need to test that theory. Others have done the research for me. I believe it. And today is the most important day of my life. Right? And I live it like that. I believe like that.
Have you spoken to Willie Galt since that day?
I haven't. And that's only the third time I've ever told that story. But, there was a reason for it. And I don't think that Willie was ever looking for me to call him and tell him thank you for what he gave me, because he didn't even know what he was giving me. He was just doing what a good Christian guy does, right? Trying to impart and be a little bit of hope and a little bit of faith and a little bit of belief in something that was greater than what I was doing. And that was my first experience.
Oh, wow.
Having had someone pray for me and minister to me in a way that was real. And I felt it down to my core. There's no one person, place, or thing on this earth that can stop a person who's addicted from getting high. You're not going to love them enough to get them to stop. You're not going to give them enough to make them stop. You can roll a snowball in this fucking room, a fucking cracked snowball, right? And a real addict's going to keep on chipping away at that until either he finishes it or he dies. And that's it. Right? The only help is to avail yourself to a power greater than yourself, to believe in that, and to follow the program that's set forth by Dr. Bob and Bill Wilson, 1936, and to get about the business, be about the business of trying to be sober and stay sober and help someone else to bring them along as well. And the program is that simple. Violate it, and you have to go back to the back of the line. And it's a long line. You don't want to do that.
Yeah. When's the last time you were in Ames?
Bill Bergen, my other coach at Iowa State, he passed away a couple of years ago. And the last time I was in Ames, my birthday, I went there for my birthday to see him, and I stayed with he and his wife Karen. That was the last time I saw Coach Bergen. And the last time I was in Ames was right when they finished the new locker room, and I was able to go back there to visit him, and then for his funeral. And Jamie Pollard had me come up to the office to the athletic department, and I was able to meet the new track coach. So it's been about 6 years.
Well, it's going to be fun to see you next fall at Letter Winners Weekend.
Well,
no pressure.
And no, I don't feel pressure. I just make decisions. Now, that's a great wish list, and I'll keep that underneath my hat, and maybe we can make it happen.
I'll send you the dates.
Thank you.
There'll be a lot of guys. I'll put it to you this way: there's a lot of guys that need to see you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But you know what? There's a lot of guys I'd like to see too. And it's true that college is like the best time of our life because you form friendships that will last a lifetime. And that was true for me too, So, I went from being a boy to trying to be a man, when I was 14, taking on all the weight of the world, all the hopes and dreams of those individuals who wanted to see me do well for whatever reason. It feels good to be 60. and to have my 5 or 6 clients that I have that I train, and to be able to make that the centerpiece of my day. I love to cook. I love to photograph stuff. But the most satisfying thing I have today is my relationship I have with my athletes from 9 to 62, and to be able to do that and to be able to give back some of what was given to me is a beautiful thing. And I love it. Yeah. I love life today.
So Danny, can you talk about what you're doing right now? Because I have watched your training reels and I have heard you say big guy. Now I know the story, but can you tell people what you're doing now and how you're giving back? Because it's wonderful.
Well, right now I have 6 or 7 clients right now, and they range from age 9 to 62 years old. That's what I do now. I worked at the Midnight Mission after I finished. I'll come back to the training. So after I finished my degree, I thought I was going to work at Iowa State. Ended up at the University of Northern Iowa for a year. My wife was not happy in Waterloo, wherever we were. She wasn't happy. So, and as much as I love to be at University of Northern Iowa, I knew that wasn't the end of my journey. I thought I was going to coach at Iowa State. I really wanted to be an assistant coach at Iowa State and hopefully someday run the program, but that wasn't the cards. So I get a call from Larry Adamson, who was the CEO of the Midnight Mission. And he said, "What are you doing?" And as the CEO of the Midnight Mission, he saw something in me and I didn't see it in myself, when I came in, like however I looked when I came in. When I got cleaned up, he asked me to shadow our director of community relations, which is Orlando Ward. And that exposed me to some of our city leaders, our mayor, our police chief, our fire chief, who would go around Skid Row once every month and look. They called the Safer Cities Initiative, trying to figure out ways we could mitigate and help families and individuals who were experiencing homelessness. Long story short, he called me and said, "I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks. When I come back, we need to talk." I had already left the University of Northern Iowa. We were just living there because I still had a lease, a couple of months on our lease in Waterloo. He called me and he asked me, he said that a little birdie told him he was supposed to hire me. And granted, now I'm a year and 6 or 7 months sober. He says, "I want you to come back and work for me." And I said, "In what capacity?" He said, "I want you to be the assistant to the president." I asked him, "Well, what does that mean?" He said, "It means you do whatever I ask you to do." And I said, "Well, when do you need me?" He said, "Well, when can you be here?" It was July the 27th. I said, "Well, my lease is up August the 1st. I said, "Well, I'll see you August the 3rd. I came back and I was the group manager of administrative services for the Midnight Mission in downtown Los Angeles for the same organization, 501c3, that got me back on my feet. Now I'm the assistant to the president, and I'm a junior executive all of a sudden, right? And I worked the Midnight Mission, whose 100th birthday was in 2014. I served 1 million meals for the first time in the organization's history in 2011 and 2012. And that was special. Special because I got to figure out and see what the Midnight Mission was all about from the other side, not the client side, but the administrative side. I got to see and learn about the relationship between organizations that serve individuals and the city's role in that, and the resources that are available and what's not available. But even more than that, I got to pick up my sick bed. I got to walk again amongst individuals who helped me get on my feet. That's why I take nothing for granted today. That's why I put my heart into what I do, into my relationships, into my business endeavors, with my clients. I love life today. I couldn't have said that, 20 years ago. I wasn't loving life. I was just being a part of life. Now I'm in life. I'm living rather than just surviving or existing.
Wow.
Guys, I got about 20 minutes of battery left, so let's.
Yeah.
First down.
I sit here, feel bad at times. I feel happy at times. I'm excited where you're at in your life. I know you have my number now. So if you ever have that point in time when you're having a bad day and you want to yell at somebody, I hope you pick up the phone and hope you call me.
Well, I love you for that, brother. But if I had a problem, you would be my first call. It would be my.
I don't need to be the first one. I just know I'm there for you. I think we all are. And
I appreciate that. And for some reason, Kent has always kind of gravitated towards me, and I couldn't understand what the fuck is wrong with this Iowa guy. He's like always like looking at me like I'm fucking levitating or something. It's like, he saw in me my potential, and he saw in me what I had done, and I think he appreciated the athleticism, but I think he also appreciated the humility. And I've always been a pretty humble guy, and part of that is because when your self-esteem is low, you don't want to draw too much attention to yourself. But on the track is where I felt most comfortable. Now in my skin is where I feel most comfortable.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Danny. I'm so impressed. You sometimes asking you tough questions is hard, but I just your courage and your, for lack of a better word, vulnerability, but mostly your honesty about what you've done, where you've been, where you're going, and where you are. It's an amazing story. I hope we see it someday. I know I've seen pieces of documentary that have kind of been filmed. Is there something out there potentially, Danny?
Well, I would take it down. The movie poster board is up over on the wall over here. It's called Crossing the Line. It was done by Pitch Films International out of London, England. Cost about $450,000 to make, or $480,000 to make. It took us about 1.5 years to shoot it, and about another year to edit, and then to do the musical score, which is original score. They're shopping it, but that's out of my hands now. So hopefully, Crossing the Line, if you guys could go on YouTube and just look up Danny Harris Crossing the Line, you can see the trailer. And I've already gotten paid for it. So if they sell it, I'll get some off the back end. If they don't, I got a nice movie poster board hanging up in my office, and I can say with confidence and be truthful and say, I made a documentary, and I've done that. That's one thing that's going on. The Los Angeles Olympics coming back here in 2028, the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, home of the 32nd Olympiad that I competed in. I'm up for an ambassadorship to try to get with them and to work with them as a representative for LA 84, which started by Peter Uberoff. After the 84 Olympics, he left $320 million in revenue, and that's where the LA 84 Foundation was founded. And it's a good organization, and you guys keep your fingers crossed that I can be a part of that and also have access to the games and be a part of a wonderful world event.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And we still need to get you back for Letter Winners Weekend.
Yes, we do.
Well, Strongy, we can talk about it or we can be about it. So you work on the be about it part, and I'll show up.
I got it. Make it happen.
Yep.
Make it happen. Anything else you want to share with us?
Just my profound gratitude for you guys having the insight and the willingness and the cojones to start this podcast. I think it's a wonderful thing. Sometimes I think you step on his mic too much, Shruggy. So let King get a little bit more out. But I couldn't be happier to be able to talk to the Cyclone Nation, to be able to impart on those who might need help what I went through. And you guys talk about my vulnerability and all this stuff. You know, I hid for so long. I don't have to hide anymore. I am who I am. You can take me or leave me, you know, just as I am. And it feels good, you know, to have the sunlight hit my face and not have to live in the shadows. So thank you guys for this platform. Thank you, Iowa State and Cyclone Nation, for being who we are. That's right. Going forward. Let's get out there, kick some ass. Let's take some names and let's get it.
Amen.
Hey, I just want to jump in here, Danny, and personally thank you for coming on. But I was not aware of your story. I knew of you. Not only Cyclone Nation, but I think the entire country here needs to learn your story. I'm very inspired. Yeah. I thank you so much for telling it. And I'm honored to be able to say that I got to meet Danny Harris. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate
it. Well, like we end every story and every show, as from this loyal son and that loyal son. Thank you for being your loyal son. Love you, buddy.
Once a cyclone, always a cyclone. Once a cyclone, always a cyclone. Never forward, never past. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
We're tracking the storm, watching it form from crush fields, grind to trophies, 2K storms. Seneca spinning through the rain and roar, turning third along to forevermore. From Jack's I will to the Campbell years, we build up hope out of heartbreaking tears. Yeah, the line holds strong and the fate's reborn. We're keeping eyes on tomorrow by tracking the storm. Here comes Johnny, oh, fist up in the air. Tonight's show theme and that Hilton stare. Took a quiet Coliseum, turned it into a spare. Where top 25 giants learn to fear this well. Hilton magic swirling like a cyclone wind. We're nine on the pivot, made the rafters spin. Step back, jumper, drive down the lane.